Welcome to tonight's watch with Mark.
Luke.
And Tony.
If this is your first time, here's how it goes. One of us chooses a movie each week. This week was Luke's choice with the film Hobbs and Shaw, the 2019 film, and he will give us a spoiler-filled synopsis. Then we will
Spoiler alert!
Yes. Then we will give our ratings for the movie, and then go into the analysis of the film before Tony teases next week's choice by giving hints. We are glad that you are here, and if you enjoy this episode, consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing. With that, Luke is going to start with the film synopsis.
Okay, here we go. In the series that started out with an undercover cop infiltrating a street racing gang comes the next installment in the Fast and Furious series, containing almost superhuman government agents and, yes, an actual cyber-enhanced supervillain, Hobbs and Shaw. When a man-made supervirus is self-injected into Hattie Shaw, Deckard Shaw's sister, Luke Hobbs and Deckard Shaw must race against the clock to find Hattie and find a way to retrieve the virus out of her bloodstream within 72 hours before it goes viral. All while going up against Brixton, a cyber-enhanced super soldier that's part of a secret tech cult called Aetion, which has delusions of saving the world with an augmented human race. Oh, and they also find ways to control all the media outlets in the world and have a mercenary army at their disposal. So, while Brixton tries to go full Detroit Become Human on the human race, Hobbs, Shaw, and Hattie team up with Hobbs' family in Samoa. They defeat Brixton, the director of Aetion kills him, and they also retrieve the virus out of Hattie's bloodstream. And, besides the fact that the director of Aetion has a past with Hobbs that is sure to be in future movies, our main characters all live happily ever after.
That was an incredible synopsis, much better than Soul.
Thank you.
Great synopsis, great synopsis.
Let's hear your rating for it, Luke.
I gave this a 2 out of 10. I did not like this movie at all. The plot didn't make any sense. They don't try to explain the plot at all. There's no character development. Characters don't even speak. Hobbs' brothers don't even speak, besides one of them at the end of the movie. And the humor is very cringy. I did not enjoy the watch. 2 out of 10.
Tony, go ahead.
I give this movie a 3 out of 10. So with these stupid dumb action movies, I feel like you can't give it too high of a rating, but you can't give it too low of a rating just because of the nature of the film. Like, it's supposed to be dumb, it's supposed to be unrealistic, but it gets so many things wrong that it's pretty bad and very deserving of a 3 out of 10. And we can get into that later in the review.
So, I actually disagree with Tony a little bit that I wanted this to be stupid, and I still had an open mind for this movie. With that said, I gave it a 1.2 out of 10. A movie that I wanted to enjoy at least. Tony disconnected.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
1 point.
Okay, there you go. All right, I'm just gonna. You heard me say 1.2, right, Tony?
Yeah, I clicked off of this podcast. I was so surprised.
1 point.
Let me explain. A movie that I wanted to enjoy, at least ironically. I told Luke I was hoping for a 5.8 stupid film that you could at least enjoy. Proved to be one of the absolute worst movie experiences I have ever sat through. Every scene makes you want to shove screwdrivers in your eyes and ears because that would be a more enjoyable experience. Even giving a 1.2 feels a bit generous. I would rather watch Eraserhead.
You're lying.
I would rather watch Eraserhead twice than watch Hobbs and Shaw again.
Wow.
Oh my god.
All right. So to start off with our first segment, did Tony fall asleep?
Oh, I know the answer to this. Oh.
I did not fall asleep. I watched it all the way through, but I was getting a little sleepy near the end.
Okay.
I'm surprised you didn't. I'm proud.
Let's just say this movie is probably an hour and a half too long.
All right, and our next segment, did Mark fall asleep? I fell asleep twice watching this movie, and it took me 4 different times pressing play to actually finish it. Fell asleep twice and then had to go to work the third time. So 4 different times having to put this on. So Luke, you could go ahead and start with the plot of the movie.
Hey, this was a good pick by me. I feel like this was a good pick.
I disagree, but let's get into it.
So we start off with Hattie's team retrieving the supervirus, the man-made supervirus, and Brixton, who's cyber-enhanced, played by Idris Elba, comes and kills her team. So what she does is she injects the virus into her hand.
Can we start off with electric bullets only?
Hold on. Even before that, before we even start the film, it's the very first shots start with a Time in the Bottle remix by Youngblood. And I think that that's the first song playing in this movie, and that gives you a little bit of an idea of the kind of music we're going to be listening to throughout every action scene in this entire film.
I liked one song this entire movie, and we'll get into it once we get there.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just had to mention that because I heard it and was like, this is going to be hot garbage. But okay, go ahead, Luke.
Because they also have, depending on the location of where they're going, it'll show, London or Moscow, and then it'll have, music, specific music for just, that shot. And that was the shot for this beginning one. Or that was the song for this beginning shot.
A remix by Youngblood, though. It just... okay. Anyway, go ahead, Luke.
I wanted to point out that Brixton pulls a Bucky Barnes from Civil War, and he stops some bullets with his metal arm. So I thought Tony should talk some more about that.
I'll just start off with electric bullets, right? So this is MI6 or whatever, and they're, going in, trying to get this deadly virus, but they don't want to kill anyone. They just want to use electric bullets. Seems a little weird. Okay. And then Idris Alba just walks in after everyone's defeated, and he's just walking in casually, and no one notices until he's 5 feet away from them. And then they yell at him, and they're like, "Get on the ground now!" And he's just not obeying them. I don't even know how they would say that and not just smoke this guy. But they're like, "Get on the ground," blah, 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 blah. And then they're like, "Who are you?" And then he's like, "I'm the bad guy." Oh, so cringe, bro.
Oh, and this entire movie is cringe. Every line of this movie is horrible.
They say that, right? They say that, and they're like, "Get on the ground." And he's like, "Nah." And then they start fighting him 1v1, but with they're fighting with their hands and stuff. Fisticuffs, hand-to-hand combat instead of just shooting him. And they all just fight him kind of 1v1, and no one really shoots him until all the guys are defeated, and then Hattie pulls out a gun and she's shooting at him, and he blocks the bullets with his hand. That's the only place she's shooting. She's only shooting she can't shoot his head or anything. He's blocking these bullets with his hand.
It is definitely the Civil War treatment from Tony. Same issues you had there. But also, Idris Alba in this movie, he's a good actor, but I almost feel like it almost seems like he's acting bad on purpose to match how bad the other two actors are in this movie.
I think he's a really good actor, and some parts he's fine, and then other parts I think it's hey, this is a really cheesy line and we want you to say it this way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it definitely seems throughout the movie. I just kept thinking, how much did they pay him to be in this movie? Because you can kind of tell with the cringy jokes by the way he acts in them that he knows this movie is hot garbage, but he probably got a fat paycheck for it.
It's kind of crazy because I'm watching The Wire right now, and he's a main character, and he's really good.
Yeah, he's
and
really good.
He does not act like this. It was a nice comparison to see.
This is definitely a product of the script, right?
Yes.
I wrote as one of my first cons of the movie, he is a robot.
Yeah. What? Why?
I just don't understand. So I can turn off my brain and watch other Fast and Furious movies, even the more recent ones, just an ironic way, oh, this is stupid and silly.
We should get into that. We should get into how many Fast and Furious movies we have watched before going into this one.
I've seen every single one.
I've seen all 8, baby.
I've seen 5, up till 5, and then whichever one where Hobbs pulls the machine gun off of the helicopter or whatever and starts
7.
Which one is that one? Yeah,
Furious 7.
So
he breaks out of his cast and he shoots the helicopter.
Yes, that one,
he broke his cast by flexing.
I've seen 1 through 5 and then 7. So that's just kind of the background that we have coming into this movie.
Hey, I will even say I hated Fate of the Furious. I actually enjoyed Furious 7 because like I'm able to turn off my brain during a movie and enjoy it. And I told Luke before going in this, I want this to be a 5.8 where I can just sit down and enjoy it like the other ones. And it ended up being a 1.2 because I think that's how bad they did it. When I actually had a very open mind for this movie. But he's a robot. He's a
He's a robot. And the series started off about street racing. Now it's about robots.
Full circle, Luke. Full circle. Straight to robots.
Straight to robots and tech cults.
I will add to like this next part that comes in is that I think some scenes look really good when it's done practically, and then some other scenes when it's CGI is just horrible for like the budget this movie probably had. Like when the semi busted through the garage door, right, and then it like flips on its side, and it's like just an outward shot, like from above. You're like, wow, that's really cool. That's a really cool action scene. And then it's like flips to Hattie being in the truck while it's sideways, and I'm like, oh, that looks gross. And then when like she's injecting herself with the virus, that part also looks like a 2003 CGI scene.
I was about to say, even the action scenes, because sometimes the practical stuff looks good, and then they'll do CGI stuff that does not look good, so you can't even enjoy the action, I feel.
It's not only the CGI, too. I thought the editing was pretty bad in this movie. So in that very first part, I was timing every shot, and it was 2 seconds or less between cutting through everybody, when normal movies have at least 4-second average time. But you can have like a long take, obviously, or a short one, but the average is 4, and it was cutting through everything so quick that I couldn't even enjoy the dumb action in the scene before she injected herself. And then it's intertwined with bad CGI, so it's just like automatically it's like this is not going to be as fun as the other stupid Fast and Furious movies for me.
It's like Taken 3. Am I right, Mark?
Don't you dare. Don't. Why would you throw that back in my brain? I swear Taken 3 used 15 different edits to have Liam Neeson jump over one fence because it wasn't him. He's too old now. That's basically... the thing is, this movie's like CGI, and like it has The Rock and Jason Statham who like do these action scenes, right? So you could have long takes, but you just don't. Like, they just edit so quick. It's weird.
Do they do their own stunts?
I don't know. You can tell when they're, like, doing choreography with people that it's their own stunts. Like, when at least the fighting scenes are, but I don't know.
Yeah. Because they'll take, like, an obvious, like, swing, and it'll be, like, an obvious, like, overextended miss, and they'll, like, stay there. And it's pretty obvious during those scenes.
So I think we should talk about the director of this movie. Because this starts with, like, me disliking the editing, and, well, they also break the 180-degree rule. Tony, do you know what the 180-degree rule is?
I know the 180-degree rule.
Yeah,
you might want to explain it to the audience.
Okay, so, like, if you're filming a scene between two people talking, it should be over one person's left shoulder or right shoulder, and it should be this when it cuts the same person's, like, the opposite person's left or right shoulder, and it's supposed to be the same. So then it looks like they're looking at each other. But when you break it, it looks jarring because they're in the same position on the screen. So, like, say it was behind my left shoulder, but behind Luke's right shoulder, it would look like we're looking towards the same direction instead of at each other. And this movie does that a couple of times. And also during action scenes, it's like panning towards something, and then it'll do a weird cut where, like, it takes you, like, a second to realize what direction they're walking. And I actually think there's less problems with this later in the movie, but in the beginning, I noticed it at least twice.
Yeah, so if you could, like, imagine, it'd be, like, two people on, like, the same side of a line where you're supposed to have one person on one side and one person on the other, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you're essentially supposed to film it as if they're talking to each other. So then the audience isn't like, wait, where are they standing position-wise? And this movie did that to me a couple of times. And it is, I don't know how to say his last name. David, was it Leitch?
Leitch?
I
think so.
He was an uncredited assistant director on the first John Wick, but he wasn't like the main director. And then he went and did Atomic Blonde, which I very much disliked the directing in that movie. And then he did Deadpool 2, which I liked.
I was going to mention that.
But it was also like Deadpool 2 is like a comedy type of directing, so you can get away with more more stuff and like do silly things rather than crazy action sequences. But his other crazy movie that he did was Atomic Blonde, which Luke and I both disliked.
He's accredited for the first John Wick too.
Yeah, it says uncredited director. I think he was just an assistant for certain fight scenes or something. That's what
I see.
But what doesn't make sense is I don't think he directs fight scenes well.
What I was gonna say is, for like these dumb action movies, when you like get to a level of John Wick and everything's like pretty realistic, like all the fighting is, all the shooting is, like that adds a lot to it. Or like Mission Impossible, where like a lot of the stunts are like actually real and it's going on, and then like adds to it. It makes the action movie genre like rose to a higher level, like to a higher rating in my scale of 1 to 10. Yeah. And then when you go to like this unrealistic dumb thing, it's like, okay, it's unrealistic and dumb, so it's not super good like a John Wick or a Mission Impossible, but it's not like you can't rate it super bad because it's like it's supposed to be dumb, it's supposed to be just action. But then when you mess it up this bad, it's really just bad.
One scene that really connected like the Mission Impossible things that you were talking about was they jumped out of an airplane, and it was the same type of thing that happened in Mission Impossible 5.
Correct.
But that was a very long take that Tom Cruise actually did that looked amazing. And then like you have the CGI of them doing it and joking during falling like through the sky, and I'm like, what are we watching? Like, and my biggest problem with this movie is that Hobbs and Shaw are both two idiotic characters, but you can deal with them more so in Fast and Furious movies where they're side characters. They're basically the Jar Jar Binks of those movies, and for some reason people like them, but basically you stick two Jar Jar Binks in one movie as the two main characters, and all they do is say cringy ass stuff that you can't look past because it's every fucking scene.
Well, it seems like the audience for this movie, like it was made specifically for like 13-year-old boys or something.
That's an exact note I wrote down. It was made for 13-year-old boys. But that doesn't mean we can't analyze it like a real movie and say how shitty it is.
Oh, it's absolutely horrible, right?
I was going to mention another thing about the action in this compared to other movies is in Mission Impossible when Tom Cruise is riding a motorcycle, he doesn't have a helmet on because he's actually doing his stunts. And then you can see that every time, like, normal action movies do this, but there's a fight scene later where Hattie puts on a motorcycle helmet when she's fighting Hobbs.
Yeah.
I don't know why, just for the point that to make it a stunt double.
Well, also, she ends up headbutting him with the helmet. Like.
Yeah, but
there's also a headbutt scene later in slow-mo that made me laugh out loud. But
all the slow-mo is not great. Not great.
Luke knows I am not a fan of slow-mo almost in any situation. It has to
Mission
be used...
Impossible 2?
Dude, don't even. It has to be used super sparingly for me to like it, and it's used so much in this movie. But I also just wanted to mention to you, Luke, I wanted you to remember that Hobbs used to be a cop. And Shaw used to be a terrorist.
That's what my question was, because I get confused.
He was a terrorist.
I haven't seen Furious 7 or Fate of the Furious in quite a while. So I was confused why
terrorist.
Shaw's a good guy.
He killed the guy in Tokyo Drift. Remember that was like revealed?
Yes, but it's because they had killed... No, but they didn't kill Owen, did they? Because Owen comes back.
They did not. And then,
I don't have any of this history. I don't have any of this history. I didn't watch these movies.
I don't think you want this history.
I don't know any of it. I don't...
In Furious 7, Tony, they were trying to take down Shaw because he's a literal terrorist, but now he's one of our main protagonists in a movie with an ex-cop. I just don't get it. All right, Luke, you can continue with the movie.
Okay.
This is where Idris Alba says, "Who's gonna stop me?"
He does say that. Yes, he does.
If we wrote down every bad line in this movie, we'd probably just be talking this entire time. I wrote down...
I have a lot of them. I have a lot of them,
too.
Oh, I have one that's coming up soon.
Is it Ice Cold Can of Whoop Ass?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I also have that one right down.
Also, one earlier we didn't mention was Idris Alba saying... Someone asked, "Who the hell are you?" And he just said, "Bad guy."
Yeah, that's
Bad
what
guy.
I said. I said that.
Oh, you said that?
He said that.
Yeah.
He said that.
You know, if I was paying attention, I would have noticed. Sorry, continue.
So in this next scene, it's actually one of my pros.
I was going to say.
And it's the side-by-side morning routine. I
That's
actually
the only
thought
pro
how they
that I
did
wrote
it.
too.
That was a hit pick that I had.
I think
But
how
then-
they did it
Yeah,
was
keep going.
really nice. I think how they did it was really nice. But then when it goes into them
There you
like
go.
actually fighting and stuff, it gets really bad.
That
It
is
goes on
my
way
exact
too
thought.
long. It goes on way too long. The side by side. I think like it starts off really cool, and I kind of like it because it's like they're mimicking each other, like with different motions and stuff. But then it just goes on so long, and then goes into a fight scene.
I think that's one of my main problems in this movie that this kind of creates is that there always has to be like this parallel thing going on. There's always this tit for tat thing going on. One guy can't just do one thing. The other guy's going to have to do something that's like the same to it. And for a lot of it, it just makes everything so repetitive. And you're like, okay, I get it. And it makes things like really cringy or corny or cheesy. Like you have the side-by-side morning routine. That's fine. It's actually a really good, cool shot. And then they go and then they fight these bad guys to learn about the virus. And then they're kind of like doing everything like the same way. And then you're kind of like,
Yeah, Hobbs kicks a guy in the nuts, and then so does Shaw. I'm like,
That's
correct.
right.
Yeah.
come on. They both
You
did the
don't
exact
like that?
same thing, and it wasn't good.
Or he says,
it was
Hobbs,
not. It was not.
Hobbs says, I'm what you call an ice can or an ice
Right.
cold can of whoop ass. And then Shaw has to say, I'm what you might call a champagne problem.
I also wrote that one
Yeah.
down.
They both had the Arya Stark drop, right? Shaw had the champagne bottle. He drops it, picks it up with his other hand, and hits them.
Yeah.
And then Hobbs has the tattoo needle, and then he drops it. He doesn't pick it up with his other hand, but he drops it, and it goes in the guy's foot somehow.
I like the Arya Stark.
I was gonna say that too.
Yep.
I was gonna say I liked that Tony mentioned Arya Stark because one of the end credits of this movie completely spoils the end of Game of Thrones,
man.
which I don't understand.
I'm gonna mention that when we get
Yeah,
to it. I find it funny.
I don't. I find it,
I don't find the joke funny. I find it that they had to include that the ending is bad because
There's
they
a
make a
game
joke
of-
earlier in the movie.
Yeah, there's
And
like
they
a
had to,
Game of
catch
Thrones
themselves.
obsession in this movie, right? There's a Game of Thrones obsession in this movie where like, haha, let's make fun of Game of Thrones because that's like what's currently going on and it's funny, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And like, and it's like fine. Maybe it gets a laugh out of a few kids, but when you watch this movie like 5-10 years later on, it's kind of like, because it's like something so specific to that time period.
When they first mention it in the movie, I don't think the ending had come out because they were talking about it in a good way. And then I think the ending came out when they finished filming or something, so they had to include the end credits, they felt.
that would
and
make
it's just
that would make
bad.
more sense to me, but it was I don't know.
It's just bad.
It was very bad. And then is this when they like start? They hadn't even met at this point yet.
No, I actually
No,
have
no,
some
no.
more.
I was
cons
gonna
going on,
have I was just gonna say Jason Statham by himself is not as cool as every producer thinks he is. I don't think he's a good action hero. I don't think The Rock is either, but at least he has some kind of build. Jason Statham, I don't get the fascination with him. It's like
I don't know.
It's like it's like a cheaper Bruce Willis. They can actually pay this guy. That's what
a
I
good
think.
comp.
It's also like a younger
comp.
Bruce Willis, right?
It's like
Bruce
yeah,
Willis is
it's
pretty
like
old now.
someone who can actually be Bruce Willis without having Bruce Willis because it's too old and too expensive.
I wanted to say some of these cons that I have that kind of get into, I don't want to say toxic masculinity, but kind of like almost
this
the
movie,
fragile.
this movie is
The
full
epitome
of toxic
masculinity.
Yeah, so it's like toxic masculinity and like fragile ego of like quote unquote alpha males.
I thought we were
right?
trying to get past this as a society, and then we
I
have a whole
also
movie
thought this.
towards it.
So Hobbs riding motorcycle with a helmet, bad example, man. Bad example for the kids. Double fisting shots before he like goes to fight someone, and then as he's holding like the tattoo to like the tattoo needle to some guy, like the bad guy that he's trying to learn about virus information, he just looks over to this other chick and he like winking at her and he's flirting with her, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, the Rock is so hot." Ooh.
Exactly.
Yeah, I thought this movie took a lot of steps back as like what we're trying to do as a society with toxic masculinity, because like we have all these characters in all these movies that act like these two goons, and people criticize it and are so sick of it, right? and then we just have a whole movie dedicated to it, which the critics actually liked. Like, the ratings weren't horrible for critics, and I don't get it.
I saw the Rotten Tomatoes for this, and I was surprised by how high the scores were. Let me pull it up.
I know the Metascore is 60, which is
ridiculous. I don't get it. I was struggling to get this movie over a 1.
2019 was 67%
You're
from the
fucking
critics.
kidding.
Wait for this. Wait for this audience score. 88%.
Oh my god, they've done it. They've broken me.
Chef's kiss.
They finally broken me. This is I don't get it. Luke
Certified
knows,
fresh, baby.
Luke knows because we intentionally for this podcast, we don't watch together, so then we can have our own opinions. But I came out of my room when I finished this movie after the 4th time trying to watch it, and I was visibly angry because I'm so frustrated that this movie, not only is it this bad, it makes me more mad that people like it because it doesn't make any sense to me. Ugh.
I feel like there are a lot better action movies if you're like into
so
dumb
much
action
better.
movies.
That have less toxic masculinity too.
I mean, if you look at like the portrayal of Hobbs and Shaw and all this toxic masculinity, like you watching this, you could be like, "Oh my goodness, they're so masculine," but they're not like as masculine as like someone as John Wick, right? Like he shows like realistic, or Ethan Hunt.
Right.
They show this realistic portrayal. Well, not even realistic, but like a better portrayal of what being masculine is. And this is just like toxic masculinity. Turn it up to 100.
She even mentioned Hattie even mentions it. Like mentions the alpha male shit, and go ahead, Luke.
The amount of penis jokes in this movie,
or nuts jokes when they get hit in the nuts,
is surreal.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, that's like where I get into my problem of this movie seems targeted towards 13-year-old boys, but then you show like you portray this toxic masculinity as like cool and stuff.
Yeah,
it's bad.
It's very bad. So, the next thing I had, unless you guys had something before that, was a pancakes joke. At the diner.
I had that in my notes.
Can I tell you what I wrote down about the pancakes joke that ended up being ironic?
Just before the pancakes joke.
Go ahead.
What did you think about, "This is my favorite jacket, don't do that"?
Anything in this movie I rolled my eyes at.
Or the I Heart Cops tattoo that he put on the guy's forehead.
Dude.
It hurts. It hurts. And he doesn't even act like he used to be a cop, and then he acts like a terrorist, like Sean.
Very cringe.
Correct.
He's branding people like Batman and Batman v Superman.
Correct.
So the pancakes joke, the note I wrote for the pancakes joke was that it belonged in a Rock Kevin Hart movie.
Oh my gosh.
Then Kevin Hart shows up in this movie later.
I did not know.
Yes.
I did not look.
I didn't know either. I did not know either. Or did you guys know about Ryan Reynolds?
No.
I didn't. Okay, so for all of these movies, I don't look at the IMDb casting page until after the movie. Like, I wanted to be surprised by all the actors and stuff, and like I don't want to know who's in it. I really want to go in blind with an open mind. And then Kevin Hart shows up later, and I'm like, oh no.
It starts with just Ryan Reynolds, right? And you're like, okay, this is stupid. It's obviously trying to pull the Deadpool audience into this because it's Deadpool type of humor, except on a real person, which does not work because it was the director of Deadpool 2.
I think he did a good job, though. Ryan Reynolds did the best that he could.
Oh, I think he's a fine actor. I thought he was cringy, but that goes for every single person in this movie. So I don't think he was bad at all. But then you go to Kevin Hart.
I would say that. I would say that most of the actors in this movie are actually good actors. And then this movie just kind of pulls the bad out of them.
Well, Luke knows I've had a complicated relationship with The Rock, where I have not liked him for most of his career. And then he took huge steps with me in Jumanji when he was acting, when he was...
Good in Jumanji, yeah.
Very good in Jumanji. I actually really started respecting him, and this movie just took so many steps back for me not liking him again that I have to like tune all of these poor performances out and just think about those type of ones, you know?
Well, it's almost like he's typecasted into these roles. Like he like fits in these roles and he like acts dumb, and it's like you would call these role like The Rock roles, and then Jumanji kind of like takes him out of that. He has to pretend to be like a little teenage boy inside his body, and it kind of changes it. And I think maybe Kevin Hart falls into this, where Kevin Hart just kind of plays Kevin Hart in all of his movies. Like, I haven't really seen him.
This one
Yeah,
too.
I haven't seen him, like, take a step out yet. Like, because even in Jumanji, he's still just kind of Kevin Hart. And I think Kevin Hart's stand-up is funny. I think in some of his movies he's funny, but when you see him just play himself for so many different roles, it's like you get used to it and it's not as funny anymore.
That's the same problem I have with The Rock in this movie, is that every movie he's in, like the pancakes joke, where he had a huge stack of pancakes, and it's like, oh, so funny, he's so big, and that's the problem with Kevin Hart with him being so small. But this movie has so many jokes of The Rock being huge, like, oh, that's a tight sweater, oh, that's a tight vest.
Oh, that was
And
probably like 3 times that they did that.
How
in
many
this movie
movies
alone.
has he done with jokes like this in it? And when does Hollywood just call it enough? Like, we've get it. He's a big person. I don't care about jokes about him being big anymore. That's why Jumanji is so good, is that, like, it takes this, like, this wimpy type of character and puts him in it, The Rock, and that's my favorite performance he's ever done. And it's just, oh, I'm so big and strong, let's make jokes about it. It gets so fucking boring after, like, 2 movies.
Yeah, I think my problem is with both The Rock and Kevin Hart is that every movie that they're in pretends like we haven't seen a previous movie that they were in. So they have to, like, reintroduce them and, like, implement the same exact jokes every single time.
And I absolutely hated when Kevin Hart came into this movie, but we'll get into that later.
So after
I actually
that's-
want to in this diner scene though, I want to get into one of the jokes I did like is when Ryan Reynolds had the half of a heart necklace thing, like the necklace he had around his like kind of like a friendship necklace thing, and then he had like the same tattoo as The Rock. I think that
I
was
like the necklace
dumb.
part. Yeah.
I think it was dumb, but it's like one of the few funny dumb jokes that didn't make me laugh out loud, and it didn't make me smile, but I was like, okay.
I did not like almost any of Ryan Reynolds' jokes because it just felt really forced. I don't know. I don't even know why he was in it.
It really felt like
But-
forced Deadpool jokes.
Yeah, and it was cringy.
I somewhat liked the necklace part, like Tony, except it went on too long. Like, any little joke that's, like, could be really funny and quippy is just goes on way too long. And then all the rest of the jokes in this movie sucked. That's, like, the last time I actually thought this movie was like, oh, okay, and that was even iffy for me. Like, that one part. So,
True.
but then you're cutting back and forth. Isn't this when, like, it cuts to Shaw seeing his mom?
Yes,
Why
and then
why can they touch? Why can they touch hands? Is that a thing?
Did they
yeah,
touch
see,
hands
I
on that?
saw that because
Yeah,
it was like
I-
underneath the.
Oh yeah, like
Glass.
through the little hole thing.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't know.
Why would
okay,
why
You
would that
could
be
give
allowed?
somebody like a.
Well, later on in the movie,
Device.
he does
Yeah.
give her something. He does give her something
Yeah,
through
he
the little
does.
hole in the glass. It doesn't make any sense. I'm pretty sure you can't do that. I haven't visited a jail. I wouldn't know.
or a
I'm
maximum
pretty
security
sure you can.
prison.
I'm pretty sure you can.
and
And let's not ignore the fact that she actually likes being in prison for the moment. Like, I don't understand that.
and if you know anything of the Fast and Furious lore, like Luke and I do, their mom is horrible. So if she was put in
Horrid.
prison, she would like literally be in maximum security, which is what I think this is supposed to be implied that she's in, because she's like a super bad terrorist person, just like her son. Or whatever, so she'd be in maximum security. Why can they just touch hands with her son? I don't know. It's a small thing that just bugs me, because it's like this movie really doesn't even give a shit to try to be realistic at all. Like, even for the little moments.
There's actually this part with, again, Ryan Reynolds in the diner scene, just going back to that for one last thing, where it kind of like Ryan Reynolds tells Hobbs, he says, you do now, dick face. And then Hobbs pretends to go after him. And then Ryan Reynolds talks about his fragile ego. And I thought that was like, oh my goodness, they're going to actually get into like the fragile ego of these people and like talk about it. Nope, it's only mentioned that once. And then it continues to be toxic masculinity. And then the line right after that is Ryan Reynolds saying that he shit his pants because Hobbs went after him. And that gets into a different like aspect of this movie where the entire movie just strokes Hobbs and Shaw's masculinity, and they just stroke their ego, and they gotta be these
like that.
super badass. They gotta be these super badass. They're unstoppable, and they're like the dream version of any man. And it's like, oh my god, bro. Ugh.
So yeah, like Ryan Reynolds is like the only he's like a more fragile character than Hobbs and Shaw, and it's like the opposite of this toxic masculinity, but it's like almost portrayed as a bad thing. Like you said, he shits his pants and stuff like that. So it's like if you're not super masculine and tough, then it's a bad thing. I mean, hey, you guys know me. I'm a pretty sensitive guy. I could be a little tear up during movies sometimes. But this movie's all like, if you're not as masculine as Hobbs and Shaw, you're a little pussy bitch. That's basically what it's saying.
Have you ever pooped your pants during the movie?
Possibly. I poop my pants, but I don't know during a movie.
My problem is too, they portray him as like a fragile man, also to like stroke the ego of Hobbs.
Yeah, this whole movie's stroking their egos, both of them.
Yeah, it's bad. You want to head into CIA agent going up to Shaw and talking to him, and he's like, "You're CIA," and he's like, "How do you know that?" Sunglasses, cloudy day, and sensible shoes. What is that? I don't even understand.
Was that a line?
They do that later.
I don't remember it.
They do that later with Kevin Hart as the air marshal when they're like, they're describing that they already knew he was an air marshal because of all these things. But
yeah, I don't understand.
Would that make you a CIA agent?
Because Luke, it's showing that they're smart. Okay.
Yeah,
they're smart. They did an ocular pat down and assessed your level.
They cleared him for passage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, every time they open their mouths, it made me want to throw up and turn this movie off and hate Luke that he made us watch it.
Yeah. My hatred for Luke, 10 out of 10 right now.
It grew tenfold after this movie.
Hey, I'm proud of myself, and hopefully Matt will watch this. That's also another reason. Because we did buy it for him.
We did buy it for him on 4K, and he hasn't watched it yet, so now he has to watch it.
I want to point out that character that talks to Shaw, he talks about the virus and how it can target any DNA sequence with a 100% mortality rate within 72 hours, and he talks about it so casually. Like it's nothing.
Yes, I agree with that. And throughout the movie, they say that this virus is going to eliminate the weak, right? It's going to eliminate the weak and only the strong will survive.
100% mortality rate.
100% mortality rate.
How does that make any sense?
That make sense?
Hey, man,
I'm so confused.
Luke, did you notice how many Dutch angles this movie had, though?
Surprised I wasn't watching Thor.
Exactly. I don't know why that was my note. It's in all caps.
Dutch angles.
Too many Dutch angles. Tony, you know what Dutch angles are?
What is? Explain to me and the audience what a Dutch angle is.
Okay, Dutch angle is essentially when you take a camera and you turn it like 45 degrees. So it doesn't go vertical, but it's always off to the side a little bit. Like, so that's how they like film scenes. And a movie infamous for doing this is the first Thor movie, where almost every single one is a Dutch angle. And you can see in a lot of fight sequences they use this because a lot of movies think that it's like a good technique. If you're a bad director, you think this is a good technique to make them look like badasses.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, sorry, that was a little bit
gross, huh?
Yep. And then one of my notes says, "Holy shit, this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen." And then I wrote down,
nice.
It was 29 minutes.
Yes.
When I had to turn it off and go to bed because I was falling asleep during it. So I only made it through the first 29 minutes before the first time I fell sleepy sleep.
Very nice. Very nice.
I want to get into one of my pros.
Okay.
Like one of the pros I have. Hobbs and Shaw then meet up together and they're in like some CIA office and they're talking about each other and they're like complaining and arguing with each other because they're going to be working together or whatever. And then Shaw says, "That'd be some bitch in your native language." And I thought that was funny, right? But then Hobbs has to go and get him back and said, that'd be wanka in your native language. And it's this problem where I think the first joke was pretty okay. It was like,
yeah.
I think
It's fine,
the
yeah.
good jokes in this movie are just okay jokes. They're just fine, but
they're
they're
fine.
good compared to the other jokes in the movie. And then you have to add Hobbs to say something to get him back, and it's bad. It's so bad.
It's awful.
This scene especially, it's supposed to be childish on purpose, but it's just cringe. Like, it's your
Very.
face, it's your voice. Like, it doesn't... It's supposed to be childish, but it's just bad.
Yeah, and I'll add another joke I liked during this sequence, which I admit is like a very childish joke, is when Hobbs asks Shaw how his mom is doing, and then he's like, you know what? I can talk to your mama myself.
Yeah, your mama joke. I liked it. That was one of my hit picks, the yo mama
Hit
joke.
pick, hit pick.
Hit pick. So they have Shaw's sister in the interrogation room, and
No, this is before they had her. in
this
the
is before.
interrogation.
We're not there yet. Okay.
No, we're not
This
even
is
there. We're not even there yet.
See, this is where Shaw finds Hattie's apartment, and Hobbs finds Hattie, but they don't explain how.
But what about this joke,
Oh,
Luke?
right.
What about this
Sorry, go
joke,
on.
Luke?
Go on.
Your voice is what I hate.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like my balls are being dragged to glass shattered glass. Or
Yes.
your face is what I don't like. It's like God projectile vomiting into my eyes. Those are such like bad 13-year-old jokes, and I'm like, oh.
It honestly seems like a
gosh.
13-year-old wrote this with the comebacks. Like these sound like comebacks you would hear when you're playing a video game late at night with 12-year-olds.
This is like Modern Warfare 2, 2 a.m. on a
Okay.
school night
Oh, man.
when you're in middle school. It's like that.
Ooh, and to add, it has the same CGI and graphics as Modern Warfare from 2000.
nice. Okay, so Hobbs finds Hattie, and this is literally how he finds her. He says, "Get me like all the camera coverage in London." And they're like, "We have all the camera coverage in London." And he's like, "Okay, now tell me where the cameras don't have any coverage." And then boom, insta finds Hattie.
This also brings me to a point. Later on in the movie, they're supposed to be hunted by every major intelligence agency in the world, and nobody finds them. Nobody chases after them. So how was Hobbs able to find Hattie, but nobody
Hobbs literally
else
finds Hattie by
in
just
like a
saying,
second?
in a second. He finds her in a second by just saying, "Where don't the cameras cover in London?" Okay, I know where she is.
Okay.
This movie likes to make obscure accusations that can't back it up. Every major agency is after them, but then you only see like a couple people running after them. And like it's trying to be dramatic, but then doesn't like actually have it fit in the story at all.
And you know what's funny? So he finds Hattie, and he goes there, and then he fights with her, and they're all in this fight sequence, and she puts on the helmet like we said before, and then she heads by him, blah, blah, blah. At one point, she picks up a car battery, which, by the way, is like 40 pounds. She just throws it. She, like, over the shoulder, throws it. He catches it. Like, you could tell that it's just, like, completely empty and super
Oh, it's
light. And then
plastic.
when he drops it, you could tell that it's not dropping like a heavy object. It's like, bloop, and it just falls. And you're like, oh, wow, okay.
Well, there you go with another The Rock is big and strong joke. So funny. All right, are we in where she's in the interrogation room now?
Okay, well,
is there
Shaw
anything
fights
to talk
people
about
in the
with
apartment.
Shaw
fights people in the apartment.
When
It's
did this
kinda
happen?
whatever.
I didn't write
Shaw
any notes
fights
about this
people,
part.
The grenade's about to go off, but
Yeah,
it doesn't.
but
and
it
then
doesn't.
and
Why would the
Did he
grenade
jump on
be-
it? Wait,
Why
did he
did
jump
no,
on
no,
it?
No, he
he
like
puts
put
the pin
pin
back in. He puts the pin back in.
Oh,
Which
see,
is
this
something that
this
you
is
can
when
do.
I was starting to fall asleep. That's why I can't
Oh,
remember
okay.
any. I'm like remembering. I thought he jumped on it, so I'm not even going to speak on this part of the
Points
movie.
for putting the pin back in, because that is something that you can't do. Unpoints for making the grenade beep for some reason. Like it was
Hey.
beeping, like it was like beep 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 beep. Beep. It was like that doesn't happen.
Like it
but
was a bomb?
Okay,
like
yeah.
it was a bomb.
Whatever. Hobbs gets Hattie. He brings her back, and now they're interrogating her. Scene.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Mark, go.
I fail to believe that the Rock can't hear what's going on in the interrogation room. That doesn't
Okay.
look like you can't hear through it. It doesn't.
She
look...
literally decapitates a guy with a chair, basically, and nobody else
the
cares.
hell out of
Nobody else cares.
It is in a glass room.
and it's
It is
just
very
for the joke.
visible. It's very visible. There's people in the background. Someone would have saw it with their peripheral vision, and nobody does.
This is supposed to be a CIA black site, and
There was
nobody
also,
pays
like,
any attention.
Holes. There's also like holes in
Do you not
like
have
the walls.
And like if no one's watching it, wouldn't you have someone like watching it from a camera or something because it's like a CIA like and it's all
Also-
just for a joke of him talking to
Yes.
his daughter and then in the background this happening. And it's okay, I don't believe that glass was soundproof. And then not only
Well,
that,
there was
there's
holes
so
in it.
many
There
people.
were like holes in it too, though.
And she's like slamming this dude's brains into this
She
wall.
basically kills him.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, well that's bulletproof glass because he would have slammed right through that glass with how hard she's hitting him. But then, like, how would you hear it?
I want to point out, earlier in that interrogation, Hobbs knows that Hattie didn't kill her team because she didn't fight like she wanted to kill him.
Yes. What
You don't
was that?
know.
What was
don't
that?
have any evidence.
He said, you can tell a lot about a person when you fight them. And when we fought, you weren't trying to kill me. Well, I don't know, Mr. Rock. Maybe because you have like 5 inches on her and 200 pounds on her and she's just trying to get away.
It's yeah.
But also in the scene, I like this line, right? Because I thought it was going to be brought up and it's going to like bring light to this, but it doesn't. It doesn't go anywhere. The Rock wants to quote unquote tango with her, right? And then she says, "I don't know that one. Maybe it must be a different generation." And it brings to light how much older The Rock is than her. He is 48. She is 32. 16 years, kind of getting pretty far.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on Jason Statham and Isa Gonzalez, because Jason Statham is 53 and she is 31.
And
And they
Remember
have
when we
like
called
a
Jason
full
Statham
on.
the young Bruce Willis? I don't know if young is the right word.
Well, Bruce Willis is 65, so he's 12 years younger. But
12 years
Middle-aged
is
Bruce
right, it's
Willis,
not-
the
yeah.
middle-aged
Jason
Bruce Willis.
Statham and Isa Gonzalez have this full-on makeout scene.
Which
And
was super
he's-
weird.
He's
in front of
literally
his sister.
like 22 years older than her. Like, this is where I get into this movie where I think it's like for 13-year-old boys and for like victims of toxic masculinity old men
So this
who are living out their dreams through Jason Statham and Dwayne Johnson.
I feel like this movie was trying to be less upfront with certain things. Like every Fast and Furious movie has a close up on some girl's butt in a bikini, right? And
Always.
They did in this one too. They did in
Did
this
they?
one too. When Jason
Always.
Statham was
Did I
walking
sleep
through
through
the
this whole
club.
movie?
Jason
Yeah,
Statham.
she's dancing, and it
Yeah.
just
Jason Statham
okay, I was
walking through
gonna
the
give
club.
it. I was gonna give it
Close-up
just a
of the butt.
little bit of credit, but
Close up of the butt. She turns around, close up of the crotch, and then he walks by, and it's just like this girl.
okay,
dancing.
never mind. I don't remember any of this.
Yeah, you gotta take that one back.
Okay, so Idris Alba breaks in after they fight, right? Like,
Whoa! You're
God,
forgetting
you guys-
this line.
I want to
You're
mention
forgetting this
that I don't like that Hattie is a love interest. So the age thing
don't
is gross.
either.
But for
Yeah.
as a story standpoint, why?
why would
doesn't
you
make
want
any
to date? I don't get it. It's
That's
only
why I said
because
this-
it's only because she's a female lead and he's a male lead. That's the only reason they pinned them together.
She's a
don't
pretty
have-
female. She's a pretty female lead, and they
Yes,
have to
yes.
stroke the ego of the male lead and show the
Yes,
toxic
yes.
masculinity.
Yes, that's
Like
the
this
only
seems
reason.
like a James Bond movie from the '60s or something.
Oh,
It's
I was about to
that
say
bad.
They even mention in that airplane when Shaw's like, "Don't date my sister." He's like, "This isn't 1955 anymore," which a James Bond movie hadn't come out then. But I was thinking that they were kind of like saying, "Oh, this isn't James Bond,"
Like back then when you could be like super
but they
old.
do the same things.
Yeah, correct. What
They
about
do
what
the
about
same things.
when The Rock says, "I'm flexing this," and motions towards his head, and all of that, and he flexes his arm and winks at
my
her.
God.
Oh,
this actually,
wow.
this part, you know, I was already trying to go to the next scene, but this part I wrote about and missed it on my notes. I'm out of it. Luke, why did you have to take that break? So they do this thing where they think it's cool to have a camera right in front of both characters when they're talking to each other. And I don't understand why they think that's so cool, because they keep doing it this entire scene where both Hobbs and Shaw are staring into the camera talking as if they're talking to each other. And I hate it. I hate it so much.
Because they're cool government agents,
Oh,
Mark.
I forgot that they were cool government
Cool
agents.
government agents.
Never mind.
Okay, what about this? What about this
Go on.
line?
Yes.
Definitely a 13, maybe even a 12-year-old joke. We're getting pretty young here, guys.
Oh.
Where Hobbs tells the CIA agent, if she moves, shoot her in the face. Shoot her right in the face.
What?
Shoot her in the face.
What?
Shoot her in the face.
Oh, he said it so many times. Oh,
So
my
many.
God.
So many.
Oh, man.
Ooh, this
It
corny line
hurts. Tony, it
from
hurts.
Hattie.
Why do you have to repeat all of them?
This corny line from Hattie when she has the Rock in like a leg lock and she's pointing a gun at him and he says, I can eat bullets all day, and then she says, for what, breakfast and lunch? Well, it's dinner time. Oh God.
Delivered just like that. It was just like that.
I'm pretty sure Tony played Hattie in this because that was perfect.
Okay, and
my.
then she reveals that she's a walking virus, but why not say something sooner?
True.
Yeah, seriously. It's a
And
reveal,
here-
Luke.
Ah, got it.
I was going to actually say this when Dwayne Johnson was on the FaceTime call with his daughter. I actually like their dynamic throughout this movie. I think it's a really cool father-daughter dynamic, and that's probably like one of the only good things about this movie. But we can get into the part where Idris Alba and his goons bust in through the window. I thought it was a cool-looking scene. Really
cool.
action-y. Reminds me of Call of Duty. They bust in, boom, and then they start shooting, and then they miss. They miss worse than stormtroopers. They miss worse than droids.
I was going to say, this is the least secure CIA black site in human history. Shaw just walks in before Brixton breaks in. He just walks in, and then it's revealed that Hattie is his sister, which was obvious.
When they broke in in their black suits, it made me realize that this is really the script for a long-lost G.I. Joe Retaliation sequel, Luke.
Oh my!
Because The Rock was
that's a
in G.I.
good
Joe
comp.
Retaliation, and they wore suits that were completely black like that, and it just like I tried to just.
Holy crap!
It really just in like this Bionic Man. It really just seems like a G.I. Joe sequel that they changed to Hobbs and Shaw.
That is a good point.
Like it looks like it, and it has the same kind of plot. But that was the only thought I had about them coming in, because then Jason Statham goes into the elevator.
Okay,
I don't know.
Nobody tells me what to do.
Talk about
no
that.
one tells me what to do.
This is where things start going downhill. Idris Alba
Just now?
and his goons. Okay, we're already downhill. We're starting to drop off of the hill right now.
Off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Idris Alba and his goons come in. They miss completely Hobbs and Shaw, even though Hobbs is a super big, like 6 foot plus, super beefy guy. Somehow they all miss him, but apparently they kill everyone else in the office or some reason.
Because
Their
Hobbs
main
is cool,
characters,
Tony.
their main
Hobbs is
characters.
cool.
I don't know.
Tony.
But so then they start rappelling down the building. Shaw punches a guy who has a helmet on, and he punches him, and then his head hits a metal beam. Still has his helmet on, by the way, and then he gets knocked out for some reason, even though he was wearing a helmet. Doesn't make any sense. But that's not like the end of things not making sense. They're rappelling down. Super bad CGI. Hobbs rappels down by just holding the wire, and his hands would be gone. They'd be
Basically
gone by the time he's down. They'd be absolutely gone. And then he lets go of the wire and hits a guy also rappelling.
Yes, he does.
down.
Yes, he does.
He just jumps down and flies exactly right.
I feel like that
at
impact
him.
would turn them both into mush. Doesn't matter. He does that to 2 different guys rappelling down. Shaw decides to just take the elevator, and he gets to
be
the
jokey
bottom.
fun times.
Jokey Fun Times takes the elevator. He goes down, and there's 2 guys in front of the elevator entrance with assault rifles. And then the elevator doors open, and he beats them up both. Like, they couldn't hear the elevator coming down, and they couldn't hear the elevator door opening or something. And it's only when everyone hits the ground is when everybody panics. But it's like you didn't notice the 2 guys with assault rifles in London? Like, that didn't tip anybody off. There's 2 guys just standing there with full-on assault rifles in the public in London. Nothing. It's when these people drop down, and then everyone starts screaming, and then everyone runs away. And then it's so bad and so unrealistic.
I'd like to see a cut when Hobbs was like, he had that guy and he hit the car. Like, they just went straight into the car after falling that entire way. I'd like just to see a cut of them splatting everywhere, because that's exactly what would happen.
I'd like that, yeah.
And you know that he's not going to have a scratch on him, because we've seen Fast and Furious movies before. this kind of shit happens.
Oh, Hattie has broken a glass over his head already in the movie.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing at all. It
like
makes
a
you think
dumb
that they
action
are
movie.
bionic men.
Yeah, right. They're pretty much bionic men with how they fight in this movie, and it's like dumb action. It's not supposed to be realistic, right? Like these things shouldn't bother people, and I guess they don't for the general consensus.
Oh, they bother me.
At 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it bothers me because you can get realistic action movies. Like we've seen it happen before.
We've seen 3 John Wick movies,
and they're good. And then this is like completely just ignores it. And
John Wick.
They know they can get away with stuff that's so unrealistic, and they just like do it because they know they can get away.
And then they
with
just
it.
do
The audience
CGI
just lets them get away with it.
13-year-olds will be
Correct.
fine with the CGI. They won't appreciate Mission Impossible. You know, like they just want the CGI fun times.
I was gonna say that
Fun
John
times,
Wick
fun times.
made fighting with a horse more realistic than
He did,
this.
yeah. Oh, and just another point for them being bionic men. At one point, Hobbs is about to punch Idris Alba, and he's a robot, so he was calculating it, right? And if you notice, the punch says how many pounds it's going to be, and it exceeded 1,200 pounds his punch was going to do.
Holy crap!
I paused
How
it
much
to-
is a ton? 2,000. So it was getting there.
half a ton. His punch was going to do half a ton of damage to him. Oh my god, it was such a little thing that made me laugh so hard. It was like, because it was like growing as he reached back his arm, and it was like punch pounds or whatever, like how much damage is it going to do, and it was over 1,200.
I was gonna say, in this scene, you learn that Brixton has a past with Shaw, and Shaw had shot him in the head.
Because
But-
Shaw was a terrorist.
Cause Shaw, right. But there's like no evidence that he got shot in the head. I know he's a superhuman now. Brixton is.
Yeah, but how they fix his skin?
But why? How did they? Why?
Yeah,
doesn't
he could
have
at least
any
have a
repercussions.
scar. They
Yeah.
didn't even try. Oh man. Yeah, and then what's the next thing you guys have?
I will
Well-
say that Francis Ngannou, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, UFC fighter, recorded the most powerful punch in the history of the world, and it was equivalent to 96 horsepower. I don't know what that is.
Okay.
really.
Hold on.
Equate
But-
that to pounds.
Conversion rate.
I don't know how to convert that. But it is described by this article by Sports Bible as more powerful than a 12-pound sledgehammer getting swung full force overhead. So maybe it's possible. I can't convert that. I'm not really sure.
You know what though? Seeing a 1,200 pounds coming from The Rock, it's just too funny though. It's too funny because you see anyone else punch and they say, other than maybe the strongest punch in the world, like you're talking about, Tony, and they're not going to exceed what, a couple hundred pounds.
I don't know. Well, how many PSI can a boxer punch?
There you go.
This
That scene in
says
Rocky 4.
average heavyweight
said a
boxer
lot.
can deliver a punch between 1,200 and 1,700
Oh,
PSI.
Okay.
PSI.
Okay.
Was that
Well, you know
pounds?
what? I think
Pound.
it's also different because he straight up grappled down the side of a building. I think he'd be a bit tired.
Yeah. I don't know. He hit a
But-
car on full force other than a person's body in between.
Pounds pounds per square inch, 1,200 to 1,700.
Okay, so you're telling me that it's possible.
It is possible.
I think it's possible.
I'm just
Yeah,
saying it's
probably pretty
possible.
possible.
Okay, then if he can punch that hard, why wouldn't every single person he punched throughout the entire series get knocked out immediately? And how does Vin Diesel beat him in Fast 5? Tell me how Vin Diesel beat
does
him in
not
Fast
have
5.
1,200 pounds of pressure.
I'll tell you what. I don't think at any point in his life can Vin Diesel beat The Rock.
Yeah, and we already saw that in this franchise. Now you're going to tell me he has 1,200 pounds of force behind every punch? Yeah, right. Sorry. Okay, and then
All right, let's
a
move
motorcycle
on.
drives on a
Yes.
wall, and
Motorcycle
Oh,
drives
God.
on-
I didn't like that. I did not like the motorcycle being able to jump and drive on a wall
or like remotely come to him. Any
or
of that.
remotely come to him. But I
I-
do like
yeah,
the scene. Okay, so I don't like the under the semi cliche. Like, that happens in
Yeah,
every
that's
action
horrible.
movie.
Almost
Driving
all.
under a semi. But I do like how Idris Alba got off his bike and was sliding with his bike and then got back
Not bad.
on and kept
Not
driving.
bad.
That
I
was a
actually
pretty cool action scene.
didn't like it because I
It
thought it
looked-
looked too unrealistic.
I was
it looked
gonna
too
say-
fake to me.
I liked it, but it looked fake. So I was kind
think-
of mixed feelings.
I think when he got back on his bike, it looked really fake. I think that was the bad
He
part.
like jumped back on the back of it. He, like,
But when he was
galloped onto
sliding, I thought it looked pretty cool. I thought it was fine.
it was fine, but it just reminds me that Uncharted games are more realistic than this movie. That's
Yeah,
supposed
they
to be
are.
perfect.
Ooh,
So,
what about
yeah,
when they're
they
driving?
are.
What about when they're driving in the McLaren and the Rock punches out the window and grabs someone and
Oh,
then slams
yeah,
it against the wall?
man.
Dude, his muscles
His
would be in
arm-
shambles.
No, his arm would get ripped right out
off.
of its
It
socket,
ripped
right out of
off.
its socket if he actually did that.
Oh,
Boom.
that was all before the motorcycle on the wall. I think it was the same scene, so I'm not sure.
Yeah,
when it
no,
happened.
it was right after the motorcycle jump in the wall,
Okay, well,
and then
there,
blah blah blah. They get away.
there was a line somewhere in the chase scene or something where The Rock says, "What in the fresh turkey hell are we doing here?"
Oh God, yes.
That one's pretty good. That's a top contender.
That's
Come on.
during that chase. Doesn't like Brixton motorcycle across like 7 cars that are lined up in an alleyway? I
Yes,
don't know
yes, he
why
does.
the
Yes,
cars
he
are
does.
that parked close in an alleyway. Who parks there? Where are they going?
I could not tell you. I could not tell you.
And then
Yeah.
Brixton gets thrown through a fucking bus, and
Yes,
and then he
yes.
throws a temper tantrum because he like slams his helmet on the ground.
He does.
And then, but why? There's no citizens screaming or anything. It's completely silent, other than his temper tantrum. When you hear like screams and like people being like, "What the
sure
fuck
you
just
would.
happened?"
I'm sure
this
you
man
would.
got thrown through a bus and then
sure.
got up and then just had a pouty fit.
Okay, so we get that. They get away. Idris Alba throws a pouty fit. Then he like bends the media to say that Hobbs and Shaw
Oh,
killed everyone, right?
My gosh.
But wouldn't
Spider-Man Far
the
From Home
CIA
style.
actually know what would happen? Like, you're telling me
Yes.
they killed everyone on that floor, and you're telling me someone on a different floor didn't see what happened? Like, you don't see these guys rappelling down? Like, there has to
Or
be
realize that they were chasing Brixton. Like that
or
should be
camera
known.
evidence or camera
Yeah.
evidence of the situation. I don't understand at
I
all.
think they saw Spider-Man Far From Home and were like, "That was a pretty cool ending."
J. Jonah Jameson. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so they get
wonder-
framed somehow. I don't understand
Yeah,
it, but go ahead, Luke. Go ahead.
I want to point out that an assistant walks up to Brixton and says, "I hacked the mainframe of every news agency and outlet," and
Top-notch.
we say that
That's
as a
all.
joke.
Hacking at the mainframe.
We hacked the mainframe.
Okay, and you get the explanation of what Aetion is. It's a secret tech cult that Shaw knows about. Hobbs has known rumors. They can control the media. They're like massive. How are they secret?
but
why are
yet
they a
not
tech cult?
high on the list of
Yeah.
people to take care of? Am I right?
Yeah.
And can we talk about how they find the scientist who is known to be off the grid and no one can find him? CIA can't find him. And they find him because they have a picture of him and he's holding a Russian newspaper, which is apparently only sold in one place in London. And
Quite
that's
the
how
convenient
they
Shaw
find
knows
it.
about.
Yeah,
That Shaw
yeah,
knows
Shaw
about.
just happens to know about. Good.
How can a camera zoom in that far to see the print on the newspaper?
Luke, we have
Yeah.
a bionic man. We can have the tech for enhancing.
Well, also because like CCTV and security cameras also record in like lower resolutions because you're having to store all of this video. If it was high resolution, it'd just take up way too much space. So it's like lower resolution, and because it's lower resolution, when you zoom in on it, it'd be super pixelated and blurry, and you would not be able to tell.
But this is obviously not real life because there's a programmable virus in this movie. It's a programmable virus. I don't understand what's happening. How is this a Fast and Furious movie?
I know.
It honestly just seems like a fever dream that The Rock had, like his character had. That's all this movie seems like.
That would have been a better ending.
Yeah.
He wakes up.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty good ending. Do you guys have anything else to talk about the scientist?
Okay.
He gives us two options. One is to kill her and burn her body to ashes. And two is to get this machine that's located in the Aetion headquarters and extract the virus.
But it's
This
so
is-
hard that he doesn't even feel like mentioning it. the
Also,
first
he's
time.
a 2-time Nobel Prize winner. And
You were about to say
nobody...
MVP. You were about to say MVP.
I was about to say MVP. I'm sorry. A 2-time Nobel Prize winner, and nobody realizes he was part of Aetion or he was missing.
True.
When did he win those
Okay,
Nobel Peace Prizes?
I don't know. I don't know. But this is the part of the
MVP.
movie. This is the part of the movie where I say, please just kill her and end the movie. Kill her and burn her body and end the movie right
we don't
now.
care about her at all.
I
like,
wanted
so do it.
I wanted to mention something earlier. In the scene earlier, Brixton goes into a room to talk to the director of Aetion, and I think they were trying to go for a Darth Vader, Emperor Palpatine, and Empire. Am I right?
That's a good one. It's a good nice comp, Luke. That's a good comp.
And it just doesn't work. But that's what I got the feeling as.
That part is also the part where he tells Idris Alba that he wants him to convert Hobbs and Shaw
just
to
like
work
Luke.
for Aetion.
Just like Luke Skywalker.
And then
the exact same thing.
Idris Alba says, no, we can't convert these guys. And then the director says, you better do it or else. And then later in the movie, the director's like, you know what? You were right all along. We can't convert these people. And I'm like, oh my God, he told you that in the beginning.
It's just...
How are you supposed to be some smart director, but you didn't know that?
Okay. Now I want to point out that it's about a day since the virus has been injected into Hattie. And if it has a 100% mortality rate, wouldn't it start affecting her?
Oh yeah, you just shut down and die at 72
symptoms at least.
72 hours, you just shut down and just.
Also, it goes viral right on the dot.
Yeah,
right at 72 hours, it goes viral.
It goes viral right on
Luke,
the dot.
do you not understand?
That's true.
Sorry.
Luke, it is programmable.
Sorry. You're right.
You idiot.
Do you guys have anything else before we got to the fake names? Because I have something to say about the fake names.
Baby! Sorry, I'm yelling into the mic.
The fake names. One.
Okay, we'll just go through the story a little bit. They go to Shaw's hideout, and then they say, "Oh, we have to go to Moscow because I have a contact in Moscow." And so this is where they need fake identities to get on an airplane. Go ahead.
Thank you, Basil.
Go on.
Exposition.
Go on. Nice.
We had Franz Gruppart was one of their names, which is obviously a nod to Hans Gruber, I think. Did you catch that
definitely. Most definitely.
So, like, I'm already like, oh my God, fucking stupid. And then we get a dick joke for
we do.
Hobbs, which
we
I
do.
put, you would only see from a 12-year-old on a video game or Tony, because it was Mike Oxmall. So if you say it quick, it's Mike Oxmall. And
this was in my pro list.
I knew it would be in your pro list.
Yeah, I'm yelling.
I heard it and was like, that sounds like something Tony would do.
Oh, so funny.
Oh,
It's
but
so
it just doesn't work in this movie. It just doesn't. It's not the type of movie.
You know what I did like after that, too, is he gets stopped, and they're going to give him a cavity search.
Yeah, and then he just...
I would have thought this would be funny, right? Oh, they're going to dig inside his asshole, and he's going to be emasculated.
You should watch Rick and Morty.
He'll totally be emasculated, right? But then they don't really bring it up again, and like they never talk about it. Like The Rock just walks in later and he's fine. It's not like, it's not like anything even happened to him. So it's like they set up the joke, but it doesn't really pay off because you don't get a reaction from it.
And then he's cool when he... Oh, go ahead.
I also want to mention, if every single major intelligence agency is after them, nobody is chasing them at all, by the way. But also, how is Shaw able to alter their biometric profiles so the airport scanners don't recognize their faces or fingerprints?
This is a world where there are programmable viruses. Stop questioning the logic of the tech, okay?
He also cloned their cell phone signals around the world to buy them at least 48 hours. What does that mean? I don't know.
I don't understand it either. But The Rock comes back onto the plane and is being all badass, feeding his ego.
How did he escape airport security? Because they liked him? Is that what he said?
Yeah, he used his charisma to get past airport security, essentially. To get past, even though he was a potential threat. He got, I don't understand. So then after he gets past this security, he gets on the plane and he does where's my seat? F1, F2, FU.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, what a good show.
That's the good
That gives
stuff.
you a good knee slap, doesn't it, Luke? Oh,
Yes, it does.
Man.
Could you hear that?
And then you just get reminded that this movie's for 13-year-old immature boys, and it reminds you every scene that you're watching something that is not meant for your target. You're not the target market for this movie at all. And you're reminded every single scene.
Of course.
Ugh. And then Kevin Hart.
Okay, right before that, I don't know if we need to talk about it, but just for plot points, is that Brixton takes the dude who created the virus. Okay?
Yes, the scientist.
Yeah, Luke, that's your job. This is your movie. You gotta explain the plot.
Idris Alba
I
jump
am.
scare. The scientist is in his car, he's driving, and Idris Alba jump scares him, and he goes, ah, and he breaks, and then he's there, and he takes him. Yes.
Okay, now cut back to Airplane. And there's a joke before Kevin Hart comes on about a bulldog.
Correct. About
And
balls on a
balls-
bulldog
Yes.
impregnating his sister.
I want to know
Or
what happened to Shaw's
horizontal-
childhood.
Horizontal hula sexy time.
I want to know what happened in Shaw's childhood if a bulldog tried to impregnate Hattie.
That's terrible. That's like horrifying.
Interesting. It's
And
very
the line that
Actually,
Tony
I
just
don't
said.
remember. I don't remember how it exactly goes, but it's definitely more like a metaphor. A bulldog did not actually try to impregnate his sister.
No,
But
I
the
thought
fact
it'd
that
be
it was
funny
in his
to
head.
mention.
Something,
Yeah.
something
that
blah,
was
blah,
in
blah,
his
blah,
head.
blah. Yeah, and then The Rock says horizontal hula time. If she wants to climb this mountain, I'm gonna let her climb it over and over again.
Yes,
Here
yes,
goes
yes.
the toxic masculinity once
He
again.
calls
blah, blah,
himself
blah,
well
blah, blah, blah,
endowed.
blah. Well
Yes, he
endowed,
does.
of course.
Yes, he does,
And then
you know.
Kevin Hart comes
And
in,
then Kevin Hart, baby.
and he's
Oh
the
yeah,
air
we all
marshal.
love Kevin Hart, baby. I've been over Kevin Hart since 2012. I don't even think his stand-ups are good anymore, and I don't want to see him in this movie or any other movie other than Jumanji. It's the same thing. I like him. Oh, that's a hot take, but I think he's good in Jumanji, the same as The Rock. And they're both good in Central Intelligence because that movie is about The Rock being a little bit less masculine too.
They're making fun of themselves.
Yes, that movie
in
because that movie's
movies I
actually
like,
and
yeah.
not feeding their egos. And I'm not just talking about the characters. I feel like the actors a little bit. Like these movies, like it feeds their egos. Oh, you're such a badass, Hobbs. Oh, The Rock, you're such a badass. And then Kevin Hart. Oh, you're so funny. We need you to be in this movie. You're so funny. And it's just every time they're like. The entire scene just hurts because not only are they having horrible dialogue before Kevin Hart comes in, then it goes to Kevin Hart, and then it's horrible Kevin Hart comedy that you shouldn't see in an action movie.
Correct, and it's
just-
of course like
painful.
him wanting to tag along, blah 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 blah.
Yes.
He wants to be the third guy, blah blah blah. He's
It's like that
getting
trope of
denied.
that character who
Yes.
tries to get in
Of course,
because
Yeah, the
he's so
trope of, like,
short and
the
it's so
guy.
funny because you've seen
It's
them in
so
movies
funny.
together.
And then he deepens his voice. And he's like, "This is my regular voice." And I'm like, "No, that's not your regular voice." Like, yeah, this
Yes,
is
it
my regular
is.
voice. Blah blah blah. Blah blah blah. Bad. They land in Moscow or whatever. They get the help of.
I love the speed
Wait,
run. I love the speed run. through
And the
plot point.
scientist tells the scientist to reprogram the virus. I don't know if that ever comes back, but he tells him.
I don't know if it does. Jason Statham meets up with Isaac Gonzalez. They
Yes,
make
yes.
out for an unnecessarily long amount of time, and he's like 22 years older than her, or whatever. They have a plan, like a Mick Jagger plan.
Ooh,
Mick Jagger.
I was gonna say I love. It popped up on the screen like we were watching Suicide Squad. That it had it had a guitar riff and then said Mick Jagger on the screen to explain what it was, which it doesn't do in the rest of the movie for anything. And it's such a
Keith
doesn't do-
Stone. They
it
had a
does
Keith
earlier.
Stone. Yeah,
does
Keith
earlier.
Stone one or something,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
when they're talking
Yeah,
to
Was I sleeping?
Shaw's mom, and
Explosion.
you were probably sleeping.
Probably sleeping. They do a Mick Jagger plan so that Hattie turns herself into Idris Alba, and they're gonna come and rescue her. They get a jet fighter, and they go over a very horrible CGI scene where they jump out of the plane, and the plane is flying over this area, and it's all CGI.
And we talked
And it
about
looks
that.
like-
Jesus, I like how Tony's just like, I love the plot. Well, we've touched on all of this. That part was the Mission Impossible part I talked
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
and
yes.
it looks like absolute shit. Oh, and by the way, in the Mick Jagger flashback, okay, so this is another thing. That Jason Statham is 21 years older than Hattie. Or what's her name?
no.
Vanessa
about. For reals?
Vanessa Kirby.
Vanessa Kirby. He is 21 years older than Vanessa Kirby. Jason
He looks
Statham
like
is to
it, too.
Vanessa Kirby. Yeah, well, he does look like it. I was gonna say that throughout the
Roasted.
entire movie. Both of these guys look old. I think Dwayne Johnson looks good. Like he looks better than 48, but he still looks old.
He still looks
And Jason
40.
Statham does not look better than 53. He looks exactly how old he is. But in all of these flashbacks between Deckard and Hattie, they're like similarly aged kids. But in real life, he's 21 years older than her.
But he's a bionic man.
They're
He
all
doesn't
bionic
age.
men.
They're all bionic men.
You have to take
True.
every piece of logic you've ever like known in your entire life and throw it out the fucking window for people to actually find any kind of enjoyment in this movie. And I tried to do that and I still didn't enjoy it because they didn't even try. Why not just say he's older than her? I wouldn't mind if they had someone who was like maybe 10 years older in a flashback, but something, not the same age, but he looks fucking 20 years older than her when they get older.
Yes, very true. They land inside the headquarters, and they have this fight scene.
Yes.
Where The Rock is facing a very tall man and knocks him out with one punch.
Ooh,
and
I was going to say.
Statham has to fight through a hallway of other people.
Finally,
now,
it was
going
to be it was finally going to be a character moment where he was vulnerable because he was going to fight a bigger person than him, and it could have been like where he was struggling. Yeah. How does he knock this guy out with one punch? But then in Fast and Furious 5, then I can't get
Fast
over
5.
it.
Just Fast 5.
Sorry, Fast 5. How does Vin Diesel beat him and almost kill him with the wrench, but then he knocks this guy out who is like 7 inches taller than
1,200
him?
pounds of
And it's all
pressure,
for
Marcus.
a joke where you could have a character moment where he's struggling. And this brings me to a point that was the same issue I had with The Phantom Menace, was that all these characters lack emotion and urgency and
all emotion.
Because it's all about jokes. And you never have a vulnerable moment between any of them, and they never seem like they're in any danger because they're just making jokes the entire time that they're doing things.
I was going to say, the pacing is real bad because Hattie will just go into emotional scenes all of a sudden with Hobbs that she's gonna die. And then it's like a quick cut to some comedic thing. Like, she tries to be emotional with Hobbs, but it just doesn't work because she has no emotion throughout the whole movie until those moments. It's not good.
I also wanted to add to the casting of that very tall man. They purposely chose just like some very tall guy, but he didn't look necessarily like really built, like muscly, or like really mean or intimidating looking. And so Dwayne Johnson knocks him out in one punch, but they could have hired like the Mountain from Game of Thrones, and then that could have been like an actual like badass
and
fight.
This movie loves Game of Thrones, so they might as well.
Yeah, it does.
They might as well. What about the scene where he puts the face up to the scanner?
Yep.
And it's like access granted, and then Shaw does it, and it's access denied, and he has to go through everyone that he's beat up.
I think I screamed at this part
against the scanner.
Screamed.
That's
what I heard.
Yeah, I thought angry. I was getting angry at this part.
His sister's in danger.
Worked the first time, right? You put up the first guy to it, like he slammed him up to it.
First guy.
Access denied, and he tried it again with the first guy as access denied, and then he's like, okay, that's like kind of funny. The first guy didn't work. But then they go literally through every other person and they draw this joke out for so long that it took what could have been an okay joke and just like made it horrible.
Yep. Okay, and so then we get to...
And then they get tied up.
Electrocutions, right?
And a Yo Mama joke.
And a Yo Mama joke. And Brixton says that, like, he shocks them, and then this last one's going to kill them. But they have, like, no effects on them. Shaw just looks fine.
What got him to shock them one time was The Rock literally saying, "Your mama."
Yo mama.
Oh, man, what a good line.
And while they're doing the Mick Jagger thing, why doesn't Brixton just kill him?
We're already annoyed with their bickering and them making silly joke fun. So why would he just sit there and let them bicker and have these stupid jokes? If you're in a band, you beat Mick Jagger, like, to, give that call. But why wouldn't he just murder them immediately?
Or the entire conversation of face smash guy versus drop kick guy. It's a joke where The Rock wants to face smash this guy, but Jason Statham wants to drop kick him. And they argue because it's the same guy, and they will both want to do something to him. And they could have just been killed right then.
I will say, was Brixton going to kill him anyway because the director wanted to turn them? So was he just going to let him live?
I don't know. I don't know, to be honest with you. That is not explained. And I will tell you this, is that Idris Alba has the bullet that Jason Statham shot him in the head with. But it was like an intact bullet. If it was a real bullet that was shot into his brain, it would have like broken apart a lot.
Yeah, but symbolism.
Symbolism, yes.
And they make, I don't know if this is a little bit later or when they start doing this, they make a Black Superman joke.
Oh, yeah.
And then they repeat it 3 other times in the movie. So
Yeah,
there is
correct.
a joke about Black Superman 4 times in this
Idris
movie.
Alba called himself Black Superman.
Yes.
And then The Rock later on says, that sumbitch really is Black Superman.
And then he says, when they're tied up, he said, I really like that Black Superman, or something like that, like, that he really liked it. And then later he says the thing about kryptonite. So it's like, dude, chill, we get it. He's Black Superman and nobody cares. Leave it alone. That just tells you how funny the writers think they are, that they bring up the same joke 4 times.
What about the fact that the scientist with a flamethrower is able to stop this entire mob of guys who all have guns? Like, I get it. You flamethrower Idris Alba, you, like, incapacitate one guy. But those other guys, like, the entire mob of other guys, should have just shot them all to death.
Well, and the flamethrower, like, makes them fly backwards. Like, on wires, which is the same problem Atomic Blonde has, Luke. Remember wires in that movie?
Yeah.
This director likes using wires for, like, unnecessary reasons.
Interesting.
And then Shaw and Hobbs are in, like, an open-top car with doors.
Oh my gosh.
With no doors.
Okay.
Hobbs is just hanging off of it, and he's shooting people, right? And there's a whole bunch of shots going on, and none of them get shot. None of them.
Throughout this whole sequence, okay, a lab ends up exploding. The entire lab. And it falls on the truck, but it just gets smushed. But it's still able to drive.
That was okay. So that was later on, Luke. That was
later on. But yeah, that was fucking stupid. That
was a building fall Deus Ex Machina, and it is one of the worst Deus Ex Machinas I've ever seen. It was so dumb. But or when
I'm sorry,
Shaw and Hattie jump out of a building. Yeah. And then she's just holding on to the top railing of the car, and she's not getting flung out of it or anything. Or here, I want to get your opinions on this. Rocket firing drones.
Hey, man, I'm fine with rocket firing drones when we got some programmable viruses, okay? That's all I'm going to say. That's the least of my worries at this point in this movie.
You know what I'm worried about?
Secret. If they have drones that are able to do this, I don't know.
What are you worried about, Tony?
I'm worried about Hattie jumping from one car into the other.
Oh, have you not seen Furious 6?
I was just about to say Furious 6.
I did not see Furious 6. I did not see Furious 6. I said I saw Furious 5 up to 5 and then 7.
Friend, you know that, Luke.
I'm sorry.
Did say that.
I'm sorry.
I also had his legs fly out at some point in one of these scenes.
Yes, true.
I don't really...
When, like, she's like, they jump out of a building and she's just like, her legs are swinging out, but she's holding on with her grip strength.
I don't really understand the physics of her legs flying out like that. But it was, like, to set up for when it landed, her, like, almost falling off the hood. But I didn't really understand it. Like, it was just a weird choice and made it look weird, too, the whole scene, I thought.
So then they all get into the truck together, and this truck is apparently super fast for some reason, even though it's a fucking semi. And then
it's the Fast and the Furious, Tony. It's the name of the franchise.
Idris Alba is chasing them on a motorcycle, which would accelerate way faster than the truck and be able to catch them in no time. But it takes him a while. He catches up, and they're fighting on the bed of the truck, and the crashing building Deus Ex Machina saves them. The machine is in the cab of the truck, and it's bouncing around and all of this, and it gets broken, which doesn't make sense. Because you'll see that later on it survives a helicopter crash. The machine survives
in a waterfall.
A helicopter crash later on in the movie, but it couldn't survive bumping around in the front of a truck.
Okay. So, the machine is broken. So the one man who can fix a machine to retrieve a programmable virus out of her bloodstream just happens to be Luke Hobbs' brother Jonah, who they have this past with. So they have to travel to Samoa. Okay, here we go.
What is his profession? What type of fancy profession would he have that would allow him to fix a very high-tech, complicated machine that is used for extracting programmable viruses?
A mechanic.
Oh, top mechanic.
Luke, Jason Statham's in this movie. He is the mechanic. Why didn't he just do it?
Look, audience, I'm just going to say it right now, audience of this podcast. If you don't think that a Samoan chop shop mechanic can fix a high-tech machine that extracts programmable viruses, you're racist. That's it. You're just saying you just don't believe it because he's Samoan. I understand. That was very sarcastic, by the way. This movie is horrible.
Thank you for explaining. I wasn't
Thank you
sure.
for the clarification.
Yeah, I wasn't sure there.
Oh God. Oh God.
The
They
whole
fly to
Samoa part, the whole part with I know there was build up with him and his brother, which I thought was stupid because that guy is famous, Tony, and you know him from the M. Night Shyamalan Last Airbender movie.
Oh God, is he Uncle Iroh?
No, he's Fire Lord.
No.
Yeah.
Was it Ozai? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
I don't know how they said it in that movie, but he's Fire
I
Lord.
don't think it was probably Ongzai.
Yeah. But I knew I recognized him, and I was like, "What is that?" And then it was the Last Airbender. And I thought it was fitting for this movie.
This is the part where it gets into the only song I ever like, and it's when they play Samoa and they're showing the scenery of Samoa. I actually liked the Samoan song they were playing. I liked it, and I liked all this like scenery shots in Samoa. I thought it was very beautiful. It was very nice. One of the very few pros in this movie, and we learn to find out that they got a plane from Moscow to Samoa because of Kevin Hart, blah, blah, blah.
How does he have... I don't know. Okay.
It's also sitting on a toilet, and
Yes,
it's a poop joke, poop jokes.
Great poop joke. They go, and it turns out that Hobbs and Jonah, his brother, had a falling out because Hobbs turned in their dad when his dad was getting them into illegal shit. And then he left Samoa, but his mom is like, he's family, and they get all together, and they're nice again.
Yes.
But what I don't understand is who are all these motherfuckers in his house?
They don't talk. They don't talk at all. Are they supposed to be his
brothers?
brothers?
It's a posse, Luke.
They don't... Okay.
All it is is just people. All it is like in the movie, like it's just a posse for like them to be intimidated. That's essentially it, because they never say anything or explain who they are. Like
also, one of the posse members is famous wrestler Roman Reigns. I'm just adding it in.
Oh, that would have been cool to see The Rock fight him instead of that 7 foot tall guy that he knocked out.
Yeah, but he's one of the posse members that have no lines.
Oh, see, that makes sense.
I was gonna mention a hit pick is the mom throwing the flip-flop and hitting him in the head.
Good.
I think the mom was really good in this movie.
I like the mom. I like the mom.
The flip-flop was pretty fucking funny, though. You gotta admit. Throwing the flip-flop.
I like the flip-flop thing. I
also...
Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead, because my thing is about them not having any guns. And
they go into a chop shop. They go into, like, his brother's mechanic area, and it turns out that he's like doing custom cars and bikes and everything for people all around the world, and him working on fancy cars and stuff allows him to fix the machine somehow. Doesn't matter. But we get into this scene where Hobbs is talking with Hattie, and then she says, she's like talking about how bad it is, but at least she got to bring him home.
And then they kiss. Right? Or is that later?
That's later. But she says, got
me.
to bring you home, didn't I?
Is this when they're staring at the sunset?
They're explaining... No.
That's when they kiss.
No, it's when he's explaining his past with his dad, right? No.
Yeah. It's after that. It's right after that. He explains the past with his dad, and then she said that.
Yeah, but really he went home because they're trying to save her life when she should have just sacrificed herself earlier in the movie. So...
Yeah, that's truth.
Can I get into them not having weapons?
Yes, go ahead.
Why didn't anyone tell him before he went and checked the fucking lock? Like, he went and slid the door, and it was just a bunch of things, but everyone who knew that they got rid of the guns was right behind him. Why didn't they just tell him? Like, hey, we don't have the guns anymore. I don't know. And then that just creates...
It was a reveal.
Oh, yeah, shit. But it just makes the climax of this movie, like... going back to your roots, but it makes no logical sense, them being able, like, using these to fight and win, and the only reason it happens is because the, like, fingerprinted guns turn off, and I told you in the Phantom Menace, I hate when things turn off just for a
clone system hack.
A clone
system? They don't explain how the hacking, how it works.
I have this in my cons list. The guns that Etienne uses needs an activation chip to shoot, and the activation chip is in the glove. Hattie has one of these gloves, and she hacks it, and it allows her to disable all of their guns for 6 minutes, which is some arbitrary time number that is placed
like
upon them to
hours?
add suspense or something. Yeah.
Yes, and you guys know from the Phantom Menace, everyone.
It's bad.
I hate when things just turn off for no reason, because realistically, you're like, we got rid of all the guns. They would show up and murder every single person. But then they need this little cop-out of, all the guns are off. But then, also, if the gun's already turned off, why wouldn't they bring backup guns in case a malfunction happened? I don't understand.
That's also what I thought.
Just go in the back of the truck. You should have brought extras.
Correct.
I don't get it.
Also,
extra guns that don't need an activation chip.
Exactly.
How did they figure out the exact location of the house in Samoa?
I don't
Ateon?
know.
They just said, "Oh, we found him," and
Luke.
Bruce's like, "All right,
Luke, come on.
Wait, let me.
I don't know.
Let me get your guys' thoughts on Hobbs and Hattie kiss.
bad. Why is it even
Bad.
in here? Why is the romantic relationship even in here? I don't understand.
Bad.
It's just bad. It's bad, and that's all I have to say about it. It shouldn't be in this movie. And then, for some reason, The Rock has a scarf on randomly in one scene. Did you guys notice that it just popped on?
Does he?
Yeah, because he takes it off, and then when he's shirtless later with all the other people, he ties it around his waist. But that scarf wasn't on him in one scene where he had his shirt, his shirt was just there, and then the next scene, he just has a scarf on.
The scarf.
Oh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I don't know. Okay, how about this? The Ateon soldiers ride in on their vehicles, and they're like, all right, kill them, and their guns don't work. And then Jason Statham creates a firewall behind them, forcing them to stay inside. But this firewall, in some shots, is super high and roaring, and then in other shots, it's a foot high, and they could just easily jump over it.
Tony, it's hard to make movies, okay? You gotta give them some slack, okay? No, it's fucking stupid, and some of them are bionic men. Just run through it.
And so...
we know The Rock is indestructible. He could just run through it.
Idris Alba gets a chopper and gets Hattie.
Yes, he does.
And they have to go to save her. So
is this before or after Brixton threw his motorcycle at two people?
This is after.
Because I thought that was kind of funny.
He threw a motorcycle
funny, right?
at two people. Correct.
Okay, continue.
Hobbs and Shaw get in this tow truck, and they swing the tow, and it gets the chopper's wing. And they're
chef's kiss.
keeping the chopper. They're keeping the chopper from taking off through this tow truck, but it's not enough weight. So some of his friends come by, others with tow trucks, and they hook onto his tow truck, and then it hooks onto the other tow truck. So there's this train of 4 tow trucks, all towing each other as they're lifted into the sky by the chopper, and the weight of it is all keeping the chopper from leaving. And the chopper swings them around a cliff, and then they use NOS to power up the cars and drive and keep it
finally
from
the reveal of the NOS.
Cliff.
It only took us 2 hours of this runtime of Fast and Furious movie to get some NOS. And then at one point he holds the chain with his arms.
Before that, the
Is that
weapons
after?
go. I was gonna say before that this happens.
Okay.
The weapons come back online, and the chopper's shooting missiles, and people are shooting their machine guns at them, and they all miss. Nothing's hitting these cars at all. But for some reason, the guns of the people back at the chop shop isn't online yet, or otherwise, all his Samoan friends would be dead back there. They didn't. It doesn't make any sense because the weapons go online, and Idris Alba and his goons that are chasing Hobbs and Shaw are able to work, but back at the chop shop, all they're still fighting hand to hand or something, because later on you find out that everyone's still fine, and then those soldiers that have guns just give up because other Samoan people show up.
Yeah,
yeah.
You
Where
could
did
just
they
fire.
find
You could just fire at them.
Yeah.
Okay, I did have something else before the helicopter as well. So there's this thing where The Rock fist bumps everyone, and Hattie gets taken in the helicopter. Before he runs after him, he fist bumps the guy right next to him. I'm like, dude,
I saw that.
run.
Run to catch your girlfriend.
Yeah, you guys just kissed and you're going to take the time to fist bump instead of just spring. Ugh.
We can get to your favorite part of the movie now.
Oh.
The chain gets
Do you
undone
guys
from
remember-
the tow truck.
do you guys
and
remember-
Dwayne Johnson grabs the chain and he's holding onto the truck and he's stopping the chopper from getting away.
So many chef's kisses.
Ooh, yes. Do you guys remember in the Winter Soldier when Captain America curled a helicopter and you're like, wow, that's fucking stupid, even though he's a genetically enhanced man.
Even though he is a super soldier.
He's a super soldier and we still thought it was stupid. And now we get
this.
The Rock doing something crazier where he's like outstretched, not letting the fucking helicopter go away because he's so goddamn strong. Oh my god.
I will say this about Winter Soldier. When the helicopters are just like hovering right above the ground, that's it when they're at their weakest, and you could like push them around and stuff.
Yeah, and
so
he's a
it's
super
believable it's believable that he can curl it because it's just hovering above the ground, and he's a fucking super soldier. But that chopper's in the air, and it's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Bless his heart, but he is not a super soldier, and he's holding a chain attached to him.
As much as he wants to be a super soldier, he's not.
I think that Dwayne Johnson thinks he's Captain America at this point. Like, it's so funny. That was my favorite part because it was like, if they had enough moments like this that were just so absolutely ridiculous and filmed ridiculously, like, it could be a little bit more enjoyable. But instead,
if they just turned up the like craziness.
The craziness is too far and few between that you forget it's crazy. Like, it's a Hobbs and Shaw Fast and Furious movie.
Like, you almost feel like the movie is self-serious until the crazy parts.
Exactly,
right?
and I'd rather just be absolutely wild like this the entire time. But since it's not, I hate this part because it's just like, you're trying to be serious, but then you have a part like this. So they actually think he's seriously that strong, or the movie is trying to portray that. And okay, you can continue.
Okay, the helicopter crashes. The machine isn't broken
break.
somehow. There's one
All
of
them
these.
survive.
Everyone survives. Yeah. And Etienne Goon is holding a gun to Hattie, and she takes up the sparky electricity and pushes it up and against the oil, which lights a fire and explodes part of the chopper, but it only hits him. Like, it's a small enough explosion to where it only hits the goon, and then she's able to overcome him and take the gun. But meanwhile, Idris Alba is fighting Hobbs and Shaw, and we get this corny line where he says, "I got your back, brother," and then the other one says, "And I got yours." And this is the part in the movie where it turns out that they're working together now, finally.
For the last, like, 3 minutes of the movie. Oh my god. Yeah, because it's the trope that they have to be friends at the end and have to get through some hardship. But then after the fight, they bicker again. So it's like, they have to call each other brother because it's the end of the movie, you know? And it's shut up. And then the Rock headbutts somebody in slow motion, and I laughed my ass off.
So much slow-mo.
Oh, so much slow-mo. Luke, you're right. It was Mission Impossible 2 at this last scene.
Yeah. Where are the doves?
Yeah, good one.
The director turns Idris Alba off because he couldn't do what he needed him to do.
Okay,
and Idris Alba falls into the ocean.
Also, of course, they don't kill him. Hobbs and Shaw don't. That's such like
that was one of the biggest issues I had, was that they're like, nah, we're gonna let this guy go.
We're just gonna let him go back to Etienne.
I hate when people do this in movies where I'm gonna be the better man. I'm not killing you, because it's also so overdone and it's such a cliche at this point.
And okay, I'm not gonna spoil this movie in case people haven't seen it, but think about the end of Mission Impossible with the hook.
Oh my gosh, I was just thinking that.
Literally, like, this scene kind of looks like that kind of setting, and it's like, it's another time where it looks like Mission Impossible to me, and they do it worse, and they're like, ooh, yeah, let's let this guy live. Like, shut the fuck up. He tried to kill you the entire movie. He's a bionic man. Shaw was a terrorist, and you're gonna let this guy live?
Okay, and also, of course, the director of Etienne has a past with Hobbs that Hobbs can't remember. That's always happens.
I love it being revealed at the end. So then
he's able to talk through him. He's able to talk to him through a broken helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah,
obviously.
And then we cut back to the chop shop, and a bunch of Samoans came back because they have Hart, and they came back, and they
Then the movie
got
ends.
And then they
everyone else
bicker.
to surrender.
Yeah.
And then it shows Hobbs and Shaw bickering, and then it just ends
And
abruptly.
then it ends. Out of nowhere.
And this is where we start getting into like the end credits where
3 of them,
Shaw and his
basically.
sister meet their mom, and then
No one cares about it.
He gives her a cake, assumingly with C4 in it, just through the visitation window. Just through the visitation window, he was able to give it to her. And they're like, "You ready to break out of this place?" Yeah. And then it's assumed that they break her out. Ryan Reynolds spoils the ending of Game of Thrones.
I don't
for
understand.
everyone.
I don't
Just
get it. I
spoils
don't
it.
get it. People I don't like the ending Game of Thrones. It's absolutely garbage. But why spoil it? Like I
know.
don't get it.
And
people
when this
who
movie came out, when did this movie came out? Like
2019.
almost-
It was the year after.
Yeah, the year after. So I don't know. That was bad.
Like why? People in the theater
don't
might
know.
have been planning to watch it and were just like, "What the fuck?" Like he does say aunt instead of saying names, but it's like, why even
You
do
already
it?
know she's your aunt, or that she is his aunt.
Well, you
sorry.
know that at season 6, so people
Right.
starting the show might not understand. But if people haven't seen the last season,
Yeah.
like I don't get
to
it.
To be fair, don't watch the last season of Game
That
of
is
Thrones.
okay. Maybe it was trying
trash.
to. Okay,
It's
maybe
trash.
maybe they're in the right by spoiling it.
They're trying to
the
save
bells.
people.
It was just a weird
Bibles.
thing to put at the end. They were like, "Oh," and then it just like blurted out. Ugh.
I will go into my last a hit
Is
pick.
it- is it-
that
sorry.
Dwayne Johnson brings his daughter to Samoa.
Oh,
and
yeah,
they have
that's
this
good.
nice family moment where she finally gets to see her grandma. And then we go back to the dick jokes right afterwards where Hobbs
Ooh,
sets up
yeah.
Shaw and then the police come to stop
gonna
him
ask.
and they call his name Hugh
Janus.
Anus.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yes.
Well, okay, that's not a dick joke. That's a butthole joke.
It's
but
a butthole joke.
So it's,
it's
better.
still in the vein. It's still in the vein of 12-year-old jokes, and
And
that's
that
it's
Tony
also-
likes.
where the movie ends. Go ahead, Luke.
It's also to be assumed that he takes down the entire police force with guns
Correct.
trained on him.
Correct.
There's also another end credit scene right at the very end
Yeah.
when
I
Ryan
did not
Reynolds
see
says he
this.
did stab a guy with a brick.
It was just another Ryan
something.
Reynolds joke,
It
Tony.
was
It was like
another
they
one.
couldn't
It
decide
was-
which one to do, and then they put one mid credit and the other one end credit. Yeah.
Gosh. Okay, wait. Before we end this podcast off, any more hit picks or nitpicks?
Luke, you can go first if you have anything.
I said that my hit pick was Hobbs's mom. I liked her,
Yeah.
but
She'll be a hit pick for me too.
the nitpick was everything have said.
Yeah, this whole movie
The
was
entire movie was a nitpick. I
Yes.
agree to that. What about you, Mark? Any more untalked about hit picks or nitpicks?
no hit picks because there was barely anything I even liked in this movie. I gave it 1.2, but there was one other little nitpick, and I left it for a nitpick because it's kind of small. Is that they go to some base or something, and then the font is different than when they go to different countries and states and stuff, and I mean, it's just weird to change it. Like why? I don't know why it bugs me so much, but it's like you have Moscow real big, and then it's like some base, and it's like in the corner, and it's white instead of like outlined in orange. I'm
It was
like,
a different
yeah.
graphic designer. It was a
Yeah,
different
yeah,
graphic designer that day.
I don't know. That was a big nitpick for me because it bugged the fuck out of me for no reason. I think I was just mad at this movie and was falling asleep. So
Like, that's
The
understandable.
font.
That's
I liked it.
I think that was it. I think that was it for me.
But now we'll go into the section where I give these two hints
Yes,
for
yes.
my choice.
Wait,
of
do we want to
movie
give
for the
a
next
combination for this one? The
Ooh,
average
yes.
score?
So I gave this movie a 3.
I gave
Mark
it a 2.
gave this.
Or
Luke
Luke gave it
2.
to. I gave it a 1.2.
And that leaves us with an overall rating between of the three of us of a 2.0. 6666666666666 going on forever.
Well,
A very hard don't watch it recommendation.
Oh my god. Please avoid this at all costs, except for Matt, because Matt has to
Matt
watch
has to watch it. So
That's
if, you,
very
if he
true.
hadn't watched it, because he should have watched it before this
Oh
podcast.
shit, I forgot about that. Luke, I hate you for this pick, but I'm excited for Tony's next one. So let's hear some
Okay,
hints.
so here's
and it's my
some
pick,
hints.
my guess first because I'm next. Yeah.
Yes, hint number 1. I won't put but I'll say Overlook Hotel.
Dr. Sleep?
No.
Ooh.
Overlook Hotel. Hotel for Dogs.
No. My second hint
What?
is Nazis.
The Sound of
Nazis.
Music.
Ooh. No? Is it Sound of Music?
No, not Sound of Music.
Shit.
Nazis. Raiders of the Lost Ark.
No. My third hint is
Okay.
Voldemort and Flash Thompson.
Whoa. That's an
Whoa.
interesting combination.
Got it. I understand it now. And
got
since
it?
I understand it, I'm going to guess Cars. And then I'll guess my real one next one.
No, it's not Cars,
Okay.
of course. Go ahead, Luke.
I'm lost, okay? So I'm just gonna go with Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
No. This is my fourth hint. So you already know it, Mark, so guess it after 5. This is 4. My fourth
Unless I'm
hint,
wrong.
true. My fourth hint is a boy with an apple.
Yes, I think I got it.
A boy with an apple. Oh my gosh.
I'll let Luke try to get it on the fifth one.
Yeah.
Boy with an apple.
Cars 2.
What? Okay.
Just say something, Luke.
Nazis. Alright. Temple of Doom.
This fifth hint should very much help you, Luke. Wes Anderson.
Oh, wow. Okay. Is it Grand Budapest Hotel?
It is the Grand Budapest.
You know what, Tony?
Hotel.
I had the wrong movie.
Oh, what did you have?
I thought you were alluding to Jojo Rabbit.
No.
Because that's straight up about Nazis, and I thought that the Voldemort guy was also in Jojo Rabbit.
You know,
No. Ray Fiennes.
I thought you
I
were
think that's how you pronounce his name.
I
yes,
guess I'm wrong.
yes.
Ray
it is.
Fiennes played Voldemort. And what was his name?
Oh,
Tony Revolori
wow.
is the bellboy in this movie, and he was
Ooh.
Flash Thompson in
Oh, I
Spider-Man
was thinking the
You
Homecoming.
said
original
Flash
one.
Thompson.
I
I
was
was thinking
thinking
of Sam
original.
Raimi's, and I was
Me too.
getting
Me too.
No. Spider-Man
it.
Homecoming. Got to think about
it.
the new one. The Grand Budapest
I like
Hotel.
the pick. Very
I like the
interesting.
pick too. I had it wrong. Well, so I just assumed that Ralph Fiennes was in it because you said boy with an apple, which just made me think the boy. I don't know anything about it, so I thought the Overlook had something to do with a hotel in it. And then Nazis was like the obvious one because like that movie's about Nazis.
Yeah, so it's like
So that's why I thought
Fake-
it was Jojo Rabbit.
it's like about a fascist regime like the Nazis. Overlook Hotel is about
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
The Shining, where there's a writer in a hotel, and in this
Yes.
movie, it's about a hotel, and the bellboy becomes a writer.
I
Yes,
like
it does.
it. I
Ray
like
Fiennes.
the pick.
I'm pretty sure it's like spelt Ralph, but I'm pretty sure it's pronounced like Ray
Oh, okay.
You're right.
or like
you're
Rafe.
right.
It's
I
like
think
Ray
it's
Fiennes.
Rafe. I think it's
He
Am I
plays
culturally
Voldemort.
insensitive?
Tony Revolori
Well.
plays Flash Thompson, and of course Wes Anderson directed it.
So when you said Wes Anderson, that threw me a curveball because I knew it was I knew it was Takis Wakanda who did
Yeah.
Takis
Jojo.
Wakanda.
So
So that will be our movie for next week. If you guys want to watch along, it is
Heyo.
2014 Grand Budapest Hotel by Wes Anderson.
is there anywhere to watch it?
You can watch it on Amazon Prime Video.
Nice. So if you want to watch along with us, we'll be doing that next week. And where's my thing? I don't remember what I say at the end. So if you like this, consider subscribing and reviewing. And thank you for listening. And yeah, Luke.
Ooh, so smooth.
That was tonight's watch.
Ooh,
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.